Hi, students. We are going to take a look at Chapter 12. And Chapter 12 covers micronutrients and energy metabolism. You may remember that B vitamins act as coenzymes, minerals act as cofactors in the reactions that yield energy. So those energy yielding pathways are highly dependent upon these vitamins and minerals. This is one of the reasons that the symptoms related to deficiency quite often have to do with the nervous system, skin, and GI tract, because these are metabolically active tissues. We tend to get the B vitamins we need in this country. One of the reasons is that there are many fortified foods. We also find B vitamins in a wide number of foods that are part of our diet. B vitamin deficiencies are most likely in people with alcohol use disorders who may not only consume less, but also have problems with absorption and metabolism. Note that since these are water soluble, little is stored in the body. And also you want to prepare your vegetables in minimal fluids so that you don't lose these vitamins in the cooking liquids. As far as grains, we know that when grains are refined, when we take whole grains and make that white fluffy flour that we love to use in cakes and cookies and crackers, that we lose many of these B vitamins. That's why in this country, grains are enriched, refined grains are enriched with thiamine and riboflavin and niacin and folic acid. However, even enriched wheat flour is still lacking, not only in fiber, but in a number of other nutrients. So it's not the same as a whole grain in terms of nutrients. Okay, so let's get going. Thiamine, and you'll see this in the next couple of vitamins here, important in processes that yield energy, so energy metabolism, and some other roles as well. The deficiency is beriberi. Beriberi was common, endemic in areas where the foundation of the diet was a refined grain like white rice, and it wasn't enriched. You can look at the symptoms for beriberi, and you probably noticed the nervous system for sure, as well as some heart problems. Getting enough thiamine is fairly easy for most of us. Pork is very rich in thiamine, but a number of other foods, as you see here, have a good amount as well. There is not a UL for thiamine. There is no level at which we see toxicity. Okay, so found in a wide range of foods. Riboflavin is the next B vitamin, also important in energy yielding pathways. You see here it has an antioxidant role as well. Riboflavin deficiency shows up in the skin and the GI tract with a swollen tongue, cracks in the corner of the lips, dermatitis, also some sensitivity to the sun and confusion. Ariboflavinosis is what we call that. Getting enough riboflavin, you can see the recommendations here. It can cause a bright yellow urine if you take riboflavin supplements because it is yellow. There is no UL. So again, the most common deficiencies are seen the most commonly in people with alcohol use disorders. Sources are not only milk, but also some vegetables, and you can say meat and eggs as well. But in this country, milk is an important source of riboflavin. And it's one of the reasons why we don't see milk sold in glass bottles anymore, because light does destroy riboflavin. And here we see some common sources and comparisons for riboflavin. Niacin, the next B vitamin, and here we see again that it is important in generating energy. So a common theme with these B vitamins, although there are other roles as well. Pellagra is the deficiency disease, and pellagra was seen in this country back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, mostly in people with very, very poor diets, very limited. And we also see this deficiency with those with alcohol use disorders. The symptoms are referred to as the 4Ds: dermatitis, diarrhea, dementia, and death. Getting enough niacin is fairly easy with a typical American diet. And here's the sources. Again, with these B vitamins, you see this common theme. It's really a varied source of foods. But with niacin, we see something extra, and that is not only can we get our niacin from niacin, we can also synthesize it from tryptophan. Tryptophan is an amino acid. So if you get enough protein in your diet, more than you need, the extra can be used, the tryptophan can be used to make niacin. And here are the food sources of niacin. Now, niacin is an interesting B vitamin because it's also been used to lower cholesterol, especially when we didn't have all the medications that we have now. We don't use it often now because it can have a negative impact on not only the GI tract, but the liver. And it also can cause a very uncomfortable reaction called the niacin flush. When you take a whole lot of niacin, the blood rushes to the capillaries at the surface of the skin. Pantothenic acid is next in our lineup. Deficiency is very rare, and you will see that there is no UL for pantothenic acid. By the way, there is a UL for niacin. I forgot to point that out. And occasionally people will note that they reach it, but be sure to take into account that it's only from the synthetic form that's a concern. Okay, sorry about that. Back to pantothenic acid. No UL and widespread in foods. Deficiency is rare. Again, you see the alcohol use disorder. A poor diet, a limited absorption because of damage to the GI tract, and perhaps some problems with metabolism due to liver issues. And there are food sources. Vitamin B6 has a whole lot of different functions. One of them we've already talked about, and that is the synthesis of hemoglobin and white blood cells. It also metabolizes homocysteine, and homocysteine is related to inflammation and cardiovascular disease and helps convert tryptophan to niacin. And that's not all. So you can see quite a few roles for B6. And as you would imagine, then the symptoms are also widespread, the symptoms of deficiency. Getting enough B6, there are varied sources, though you can see here they're a little more limited than the others. And note that athletes need more than sedentary adults because of the increased processing of protein and glycogen. They should get more, though, if they're eating the higher calorie diet that they also require. Food sources include not only animal products, but also cereals and some fruits and vegetables. Though the B6 in animal foods and fortified foods is absorbed better than from plant foods. And here we have kind of an array of sources just so you can compare which groups give you the most. Okay, now B6 is an interesting B vitamin because until there was some research on B6 and premenstrual syndrome, we thought that all B vitamins were perfectly safe because you would just excrete whatever your body didn't need. They're water soluble, for goodness sakes. But then what we found is that some people that took large doses of B6 and very high doses, mega doses above the UL value, they ended up with permanent nervous system damage, tingling in the fingers and toes. So we now know that B6 and B12 are stored, and B6 actually can lead to nerve damage. So caution is required when you are taking supplements of B6. This would not occur from food intake, just from supplements. Biotin, here you see the deficiency symptoms. A lot of people take biotin for hair and nails. We know that biotin has no UL, so it's relatively non-toxic and can't hurt, although there's not a lot of research to support that it does strengthen hair and nails, although anecdotally, many people swear by it. Something interesting about biotin is that raw egg whites bind biotin and decrease its absorption. So if someone's eating a lot of raw eggs, which they shouldn't be doing anyway because of food safety concerns, they could induce a biotin deficiency. Okay, and here we have the famous goiter that occurs with an iodine deficiency. When there's not enough iodine, the thyroid gland enlarges, and that's called a goiter. We don't typically see iodine deficiencies, but I will tell you something interesting about salt. Most people who buy table salt for use at home buy an iodized salt, so that they're covering their needs for iodine. However, the salt that you find in processed food is not iodized. So you're getting all of your salt from processed food. This could be a concern. And a vegan diet also may be low in iodine because of the lack of food sources for iodine. There you go. And we've got chromium. Remember that chromium deficiency impairs glucose control, so it can cause or contribute to some higher blood sugar levels. And manganese, used by enzymes for bone health. And molybdenum. Deficiency is rare. We don't spend a whole lot of time talking about molybdenum, as you can tell, but there is a UL, and you see here that excess causes toxicity in laboratory animals. When you hit a UL for a nutrient, be sure to go to the table and check the footnotes, because many of the UL values refer to the synthetic form. So you do need to check that out. Okay, so this was all about energy and energy metabolism. Your chapter also does a little bit of a look at energy sustaining snack ideas. So let's take a look at this. These are really an array of healthy snacks that include some protein and fat, so that you have kind of a slower absorption, a lower glycemic index curve, and loaded with nutrients as well. As far as boosting metabolism, which is a very common question, is there anything that boosts metabolism? Well, it's good to get enough sleep, okay, and to eat breakfast and to eat more often. In other words, not only one meal a day. However, a lot of people, when they hear eat all day long frequently, kind of think about grazing on unhealthy foods, and that's not the idea either. Eating more often means maybe a breakfast, then a healthy snack in between, then a lunch, healthy snack in between, dinner, that type of a schedule. Also note that protein-rich food can kick up your metabolism a little because it has an impact on the calories needed to break it down. And we also see that when you change your body composition and become more muscular, this increases your metabolism as well. So we're going to end this chapter 12 discussion with a little bit discussion about choline. Choline is perhaps the newest vitamin, but we certainly know that choline is important for proper development of the fetal brain. We've recognized this as an essential nutrient, and it does function in all cells, and you can see that here. It's important for cell membrane structure. It's important for single carbon metabolism. Adequate intake of choline prevents birth defects. It's important for nerve function and brain development. And lipid transport. So how do we get enough of this amazing new vitamin? Well, here are the recommendations, and most Americans are not meeting them. There's a wide variation in how much people require, and there is a UL for choline. But let's look at the sources. So the best sources are soybeans, egg yolks, beef, cauliflower, almonds, and peanuts, okay? Eggs are a great source of choline. So this is the Egg Council took this and ran with it, because one egg a day provides 25% of your daily needs. And here are some more sources. Okay, have a wonderful day.